Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating intersection. We're looking at the powerful synergy between spirituality, wealth building, and business. We'll be unpacking some incredible insights from entrepreneur Myron Golden, who's literally spent decades figuring out how ancient biblical principles apply directly to modern commerce. So if you've ever found yourself wondering how faith and financial success can actually coexist, well, you are in the exact right place. Okay, let's dive straight into this. There's this deeply rooted assumption out there, right? That creating wealth and answering a spiritual calling are somehow complete opposites. We so often feel this tension, like there's a massive chasm between the marketplace and the ministry. A lot of people secretly worry that if they leave full-time vocational ministry, or honestly, if they just dedicate their lives to building a highly successful business, they're somehow sacrificing their spiritual purpose. But what if that division is completely made up? Section 1, the marketplace as ministry. To really answer that question about a divided calling, we need a massive paradigm shift. Just think about the historical model of Jesus for a second. We tend to picture his ministry as confined strictly to religious settings, right? But in reality, he didn't just teach in synagogues. He spent a huge amount of his time ministering right out in the open marketplace, right among everyday people conducting their everyday lives. And that brings us to the actual literal definition of the word. Ministry simply means to serve. That's it. It is not exclusively a religious term. Because of that, the marketplace itself is an absolutely valid, highly powerful form of ministry, as long as your core objective is genuinely serving other people. Let's look at how this builds a completely new model for business. On one hand, we've got the traditional, kind of cynical view of business, which is just trying to figure out how to get other people's money. But on the flip side, we have this concept of marketplace ministry. Here, you are hyper-obsessing over solving other people's problems. Think about it. If your only goal is to extract money, you're essentially trying to use people to serve you. But if you obsess over solving a problem for a large number of people, they're going to gladly pay you for the solution. And that is the true essence of service in the marketplace. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It says, "If the pastor is the only person in the church doing ministry, you don't have a church. You have a country club with a celebrity pastor." Wow. A pastor's true job isn't to just do all the ministering, it's to equip the people to do the work of the ministry out in the real world, Monday through Saturday. The marketplace is where those solutions are actually delivered to a world that desperately needs them. Section 2, the true nature of wealth. So if we are called to serve in the marketplace, how do we understand the rewards of that service? Well, we need a mind-blowing reframe on how we define our resources. Get this, money is not wealth. Now, it's not saying that wealth doesn't include money. It's saying that money itself is merely a byproduct. Money is literally just one of the many things we receive when we actually become wealthy. So, if money isn't wealth, what exactly is it? So, the crucial point is this. Wealth is your actual ability to provide value. It's the capacity to serve someone other than yourself. And here's the real secret. You absolutely cannot fake this. Having a genuine heart to serve people is the absolute foundation of true wealth. If you just focus on becoming more interested in solving other people's problems, rather than just trying to be interesting, you become incredibly valuable. Section 3, the Biblical Wealth Code. Let's take a look at how this foundational idea of wealth is totally baked into ancient text. We're going to examine some super fascinating theological Easter eggs regarding money, specifically looking at the book of Genesis. So, quick question. How many times do you think gold is mentioned in the entire book of Genesis? You might guess 50, maybe 100 times. Actually, it's mentioned exactly 8 times. And in biblical symbolism, the number 8 is incredibly significant. It represents abundance, a new beginning, infinity, and eternity. But why gold, right? Why has this specific physical substance represented wealth since literally the beginning of time? Well, it's because gold is quite literally a physical picture of eternity. Unlike copper that corrodes or brass that tarnishes, gold just does not decay. It doesn't rust. It endures. It is a physical representation of something eternal, which is exactly why in Genesis, God specifically described the gold as good. And across those 8 mentions in Genesis, we see the clear intended purpose of wealth. First up, as providence. Gold was placed right in the Garden of Eden. Think about that for a second. There were no stores, nothing to buy, and only 2 people on Earth. Yet gold was provided in advance, purely to show that opulence and abundance are natural resources for humanity. Then, wealth is shown as possession, like with Abraham, who was made very rich. Next, it's shown as proof of God's blessing, which we see in the story of Rebekah. And finally, provision. The scriptures repeatedly show that wealth is designed to flow directly into the hands of those who are good and who genuinely want to serve others. Section 4. The scale of impact. Knowing all of this about value and service, how do we actually apply it today? We live in an era where the scale of our impact can be multiplied astronomically. And Myron Golden's own YouTube journey is a perfect, honestly almost comedic reality check of this. For 14 whole years, he had a YouTube channel, but practically ignored it, posting maybe 50 videos total. It wasn't until a conference in October 2021 that he discovered a mind-blowing fact. YouTube actually pays creators for content. No way, right? He literally didn't know you could just push a button to get paid. Finally, in February 2022, his team turned on monetization for the videos that were already just sitting there. And this brilliantly illustrates the power of modern leverage. The very first month, doing absolutely nothing new, they made $35. But by April, Myron committed to posting one video every single week, and the exponential growth was just staggering. The monthly revenue skyrocketed from $357 to over $15,000, up to $27,000, and then boom, $44,000 a month, all from consistently sharing his knowledge, his ability to solve problems with a much wider audience. As Myron points out, he left millions of dollars on the table for 15 years. But way more importantly than that, he left influence on the table. By leveraging platforms like YouTube, he is now reaching thousands of times more people in the marketplace than he ever could have from just behind the walls of a physical church building. If you're serious about making an impact and serving others and you aren't consistently adding value on digital platforms, you are severely limiting your reach. Section 5. Recovering your creative genius. So what holds us back? If the tools are right there and the calling to serve is there, why do so many of us stay stuck? Well, we have to explore the psychological barriers that stop us from trusting our own God-given gifts. Now, what's really interesting about this data from a creativity study conducted by George Land for NASA is how drastic the shift is. They tested a group of 5-year-olds, and 98% of them tested as creative geniuses. 98%. But they retested those exact same children at age 15, and the number dropped to 12%. When they gave that same test to hundreds of thousands of adults, only 2% tested as creative geniuses. We don't naturally grow out of our creativity. We are systematically programmed out of it via conformity. Which leads us to a truly beautiful realization. Just as Adam was placed in Eden to tend the garden, our job is to tend the garden of ourselves. The gardener is also a garden. We all have this innate creativity planted inside of us. But to let it grow, we have to actively cultivate and protect our own minds. We need to saturate ourselves with the right inputs and absolutely refuse to let the world conform us into hiding our unique value. And part of trusting your gift is trusting your journey. Your past was a path to prepare you for your purpose. Take the biblical story of Joseph, for example. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. I mean, it seemed like an endless string of absolute disasters. But every single disruption, every pain he faced was ordained to put him in the exact right place with the exact right resilience to ultimately interpret the Pharaoh's dream and save entire nations from famine. The pain of your past is so often the exact preparation needed to protect somebody's future. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly vital question. You have an ability to provide value that is completely 100% unique to you. Because there is only one you in all of human history, you literally have zero competition. The only thing standing in the way is trusting that power to prosper. So, are you ready to stop hiding your God-given gift and start serving the world? Take that question with you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you soon.